Roll call. Reminder, if you have a cell phone, would you mute it or turn it off? It's up to you. Our roll call, where Vice Mayor is not going to be with us tonight. Our Pledge of Allegiance is going to be offered by Councilman Mike Andazola, followed by the opening prayer by Councilman Arnold Lopez. Would you remain standing for both, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father, I thank you for all the blessings you've given me, but I come to you this evening asking for you to be with us, staff, council, that we can make decisions and go forward for the benefit of our community, and that our decisions do just that, Father, for our community at this time. And I'm thankful for our staff, that especially when we're coming up on budget, all the work it takes. I ask you to be with them in spirit, and certainly all the people in our community, Father. I ask you to build a hedge around them of protection and of healing, Father. And I ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Councilman. Citizen comments on agenda items and non-agenda items? Okay, so before I go into close this meeting and go into executive session, I would like to make note that this is the last executive session that will be at the beginning of a meeting. Every single one of them from here on out will be pushed to the back. The costs that our attorneys are, what we're paying, they can adhere to our time. It's very important that our staff is not here too long. So I don't want any more executive sessions at the beginning of the meeting. I want them all pushed to the end, okay? Is council okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So for that, we're going to go ahead and close the regular meeting. We're going to go ahead and go into executive session. And moving right on to 11.1, which is Resolution R22-03 Airport Grant Runway. Lance?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for the Mayor and Council to review and approve Resolution R21003 and R21004, accepting 2 grants from ADOT to assist in funding projects at Safford Airport, and authorizing the city manager to execute these agreements, and staff recommends authorizing this. These 2 projects include the first one, design of taxiway A lighting, and then the reconstruction of runway 826. Both these projects are in our CIP, 5-year CIP plan, as well as the ASIP plan, and are planned for this fiscal year 22. Taxiway A consists of the design of replacing outdated light fixtures that have outlived their design life, and replace them with LED fixtures, and have shelf-ready plans for when that project becomes available for funding. Reconstruction of 826 will consist of milling and overlaying the entire length of runway 826, and I've summarized the costs there, the estimated costs for both projects. Runway 826 was originally planned for a 2-phase project in our CIP, and because of the cost associated with that, it was split into 2 phases. During the initial design phase, it was determined that the rehabilitation could be done with a mill and overlay, so there was a cost savings involved, and potentially a 1-phase project of that $1.6 million that we originally had budgeted for phase 1. So that's the plan, is to move forward with that with one phase. Is there any question on either one of these projects?
No,
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to be doing both Resolution R2203 and R2204 all in one, correct?
Is that all right, Tammy? Yes.
So we need a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve Resolution R2203 and 4.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Go ahead with item 12.1.
Mayor and Council, this is a request to authorize staff to contract with CNS Engineers, who's our airport consultant, to review and update the Safford Airport minimum operating standards, as well as the rules and regulations. The airport minimum operating standards were revised in 2012, but were never adopted by the city, so the current approved version is our 2003 version. Current version of the rules and regs is dated 2001. This project will analyze these documents and update them to ensure compliance with current FAA regulations and industry standards. Project will also provide operating analysis of the airport, as well as various operating and administrative functions and procedures in place at the airport. The various airport processes and procedures will be analyzed and compared to standard airport industry best practices, and compared to similar airports, and recommendations and proposed actions will then be provided to the city for potential action. Staff budgeted during the last year's budget $15,000 to have an airport operations, to have our rules and regs looked at. That was our estimate at the time. Since that time, we've kind of expanded the scope a little bit, and CNS Engineers' proposed cost is $34,850 to do this review and analysis. Staff's requesting reappropriating airport capital funds of $20,000 from the reconstruction 826 project that I just mentioned in the previous item, which we had matching funds of $160,000 in our budget to do, which that project is now 100% funded. Both those projects, I forgot to mention that, both those projects are now 100% funded by ADOT. So we have additional funds available in that project, and we're proposing to move those into this capital fund so we can have CNS hired to do this review and analysis. Staff's recommending that the Mayor and Council authorize us to contract with CNS Engineers and get this process underway. Any questions?
Go ahead, Councilman Lopez.
Now, when you use the verbiage minimum standards, they're kind of scary. So is this going to give us
Are we right here?
the results we want to get our document in shape?
FAA requires airports to have a minimum operating standard procedures, and so that's what we said in this minimum operating standards is what FAA regulations are. We can get more fine detailed in control with our FBO agreements, lease agreements. That's where you get more fine-tuned control. These are the minimum standards required by FAA for the for the entire operation.
It'll get us in the ballgame.
It will.
And then you may add some to it.
Yes, yeah, we'll add or take away whatever's current with FAA standards and what our consultant recommends.
Okay, Mr. Henry.
Mayor,
Manager.
Councilman Lopez, yeah, I think that, it's just a term of art that they use, so the standards and the rules are in compliance with FAA regulations, so it's not that we're aiming low, it just happens to be the term of art that they use, so they'll be in compliance with all the required standards.
And we'll have a worksheet to keep track of.
Well, we'll have updated standards that we can now work off of that are modern and adopted. We apparently went through a process in 2012 and got all the way to having the documents, and then they never got approved. So when the consultant looks at this, and we were able to kind of get the price down by more than half by utilizing some of those pre-existing documents. So at least the work that was done in 2012 won't be wasted. Obviously, some of those things change, so we'll have to look at it from time to time to make sure they're up to speed, but obviously, given our recent experience, that's something we'll be paying attention to.
And this, just to clarify, this is a document, two documents. One, the minimum operating standards is for any business out there doing business. It's an operating standard for any business. We have rules and regs in place that every person out there should have a copy of. Anybody that has a hangar, lease space, whatever, they should have a copy of rules and regs that we have for the airport. Minimum operating standards have to do with businesses and those functioning as, businesses out there at the airport.
It won't work with any building standards?
Well, our building standards are gonna go through our building department.
Okay.
That's all inspected and done, permitted through our building department, just like any other building in town.
Yeah, just hoping they work together. I think Jamie will get it and working together.
That's when was
Thank
the
you,
last
sir.
time that we've actually consulted this out? It's been, you probably don't even remember, do you?
Well, this 2012 CNS actually
They did it?
they did an update, but it was never adopted, and we've got a copy of it, and it's really not much different than our 2003 version. There's a few things in there as far as they changed some stuff in the FBO requirements of square footage of office space and that kind of stuff, but it is pretty close to what we have in our current adopted one from 2003.
And Mayor, the other benefit too is that when we go through this process, a part of this is public outreach. So we're gonna have an opportunity to be up at the airport meeting with the tenants and let them know that we're going through the process, and when that process is done, we'll make sure that everybody gets the updated versions and we'll get them distributed.
Because for 34K, I'd like to see some changes instead of just adopting 2012 and saying, okay, let's make a couple of changes here and there. It's like, we could have done that in-house and saved 34K. But, so I'm hoping to see big changes.
I hope to
Well-
make change, go ahead, John.
Well, I just wanted to say that the changes are gonna be driven by whatever the
Right.
FAA guidelines are. However, the 34,000 isn't just for the updating of the documents. That's a part of the entire process, part of which is going to be going out at the airport, meeting with some of the tenants and doing some public outreach. So there's other legal fees and review fees in there. So the 34,000 isn't just for the document itself, but for the other parts of creating them essentially.
Okay, we need a motion.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. We have any more discussion? Councilman Lopez?
No, sir, I'm
Is
good.
everything answered? Everybody good? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12.2, scrap metal recycling. Jason?
Mayor and council members, good evening. We brought this request to award the contract to Mighty Mite Recycling for the removal and recycling of all of our scrap materials, mostly those generated by our copper replacement project, and then also through some maintenance and upkeep in the yards. With our current scrap metal prices at highs, we're trying to take advantage of that and bring those funds back into the city coffers. So.
Did you go out to bid for this, or you just accepted Metal Mite and Pima?
No, we went out to bid to 6 different companies, trying to, three here local companies, and then one in Wilcox, and I believe the other 2 were in Tucson.
And where's the monies that you get going to go?
So these monies will be brought back into the city coffers, just into the general fund.
No, they'll go into the electric. Should
Electric
go
will
into
get it?
electric, correct?
It will come back into the utility support and then split out to the departments that are putting into it.
But then, so like you said, there's metals that could be used from streets or whatever, that would then get, I mean, they're gonna keep that good of an itemized deal to where streets are gonna be able to get the reimbursed money as well? When you said it's metal, it's not just electrical copper, it's anything and everything that we have in the yard.
Yep.
That can be recycled.
Exactly.
And so I'm trying to make sure that each department will get their fair share of that.
So, Mayor, we haven't had that. From what I understood before, I thought it was just going into the general fund. We can set up the bins with that recycler, that we can have those department specific and have those go specifically back to the
I'm
departments
just
that they're
asking,
brought
I don't know. I'm asking where you guys think the money needs to go.
I think it reads that it's going back to the separate departments.
to. Okay.
The way that I was explaining it was that we have a utility support department that their expenses get transferred to water, gas, and electric. So as they're putting in to the scrap metal, we would put the revenues into the utility support and break those out to the departments.
Okay. Motion?
And breaking down disputes, are we going to the Superior Court, or are we gonna talk it over among ourselves if we have a dispute with them? Because it says both.
So, if the disputes get large enough, I guess we'll take it to our city manager to start with, and then if it needs to go beyond that, we can bring it before the council and the mayor.
It's in the document, so we'd have to reference the document to see the procedure.
Okay, and I pointed this out to you, but just to let you have it again, in the indemnification, it says that, to the fullest extent permitted by law, contractor, its successors, assigned grantors shall indemnify, defend, save, and hold harmless the city of Globe. We're not the city of Globe, sir.
I agree with you,
So
council.
we can, if we vote on this, we have to put that up as an amendment,
Okay.
I believe. I'd have to check.
Definitely.
Okay, I'm just razzing you, sir.
I just want to make sure, well, I figured City of Globe wasn't going to have a problem with it, so that's why I was pushing it down to them.
You don't have to invent the wheel,
Yep.
because every time we go to not invent the wheel, we end up with consultants and it costs us money, so thank you.
So I want to entertain a motion with that exemption of Globe to Safford.
So
Okay.
moved.
We have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second. Everybody understands what we're getting ready to vote on.
Yes.
All
Yes,
those, any discussion?
No, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thanks, Jason.
Appreciate it.
Announcement of current events. Do we have anything coming up?
Mayor, we have, this weekend, we have the Rose Mofford dinner, I believe. And we have the Lincoln Day dinner too,
Okay.
on the 21st.
Anybody else have anything that's going on?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
just wanted to have Jamie make an announcement on something.
I got word from Alan Bryce that he passed his exam today, so he will be certified, so we'll have 2 certified building inspectors on staff.
Great.
So congratulations to him, it's a really big exam, and he did a lot of studying, so,
Good.
great.
Any,
That's good news.
anybody else?
I have one item, Mayor, just
Go
to
ahead.
let you know, next weekend is our free dump for the quarter. So I'll let your constituents know, 24th, 25th, 26th is our free dump for basically anybody in the valley.
Will we be getting any notice on that or something?
It should already come out in all your utility bills.
Okay.
I got mine, so hopefully you got it. So, and
And-
we're posting it everywhere we can, so.
I'm just going to go ahead and, before the cat gets out of the bag, everybody, I have health issues, so you'll be seeing me here and there and a miss, but I'll be starting chemo radiation within the week. So if you see me, say hi. If you don't, somebody will be signing one of those certifications for me. But anyway, I just want you all to know that's what's going on. Anybody else have anything? If not, we're gonna move on. Item 14, report on operational items. Gabe?
Thank you, Mayor, and our hearts and prayers go out to you. We'll give an update on the CIP. You guys have any questions, we'll field them at that time too. We got a $22.3 million budget. Here's kind of the breakdown of the projects. As you guys are fully aware, we're working over there on the 20th Avenue project and doing that widening over there. We do have $5 million in the budget for that one. That is an ADOT administered project, so we paid for our expense last year, so we're not going to accrue any of that or see any of that cost come through on us. It is progressing. We're running into a few issues. Lance has been a valuable asset in trying to redesign a lot of this stuff. He's been a great mentor. We're working through quite a few issues where we're doing a lot of in-house savings on that project. So, as you guys are aware, there's some logistical issues across the U.S. right now, and we're not exempt from those. We do have this reclaim that we bid out and went to the fairgrounds. That's the reclaim line that'll be going out to the fairgrounds. We actually bidded that in October and awarded that contract. The pipes delays were significantly enough that we postponed that start time until March. So we should be starting that one soon, but it did have a pretty significant delay on it. We have the copper replacement electrical project, the $3 million project there. That one is actually underway. I think we got our first bill on that one last week. So that one's should be progressing. We should start accruing cost in the third quarter on that one. Another one that we took to bid was the Crosco well. That's the treatment water. It'll supplement the city water in there. We had a $900,000 budget on that. We took that to bid. We had 2 bids come back over $2.7 million on that one, so we actually rejected both of those bids. We're trying to work for cost savings, looking at trying to piecemeal that and bring that cost and reduction down. So that's also impacted some of our projects. A couple others that I'll highlight really quick is the old police
Jason,
station.
before you go any further, real quick on the Carrasco wellhead treatment, I think this falls under the category, I should be able to talk about it. It's not going to affect anything as we're getting ready to enter into the summer, and we use that well. Are you okay with piecemealing it out?
I think it's obviously going to delay it, and I'll let Morgan kind of, I guess, address that more of a concern, but I think we can manage through it. It's obviously in the best interest to try to get that cost down. I think we can manage through the supply side of it, but I guess, Morgan, if you have any comment.
So Mayor and Council, like Gabe was stating, that we are trying to bring that more in-house, so we're going to be purchasing all the material and subbing the contract out, or phases of that out, to try to get the cost savings down within our budget. And going into the summer, we'll definitely keep that in mind of keeping Carrasco as available. So there may be some delays while we construct the building, while allowing Carrasco to be operational. And then once we get out of the pumping season, we'll swap it over, start getting really hard and heavy on the piping.
Okay, thank you, Morgan.
Well, you
Go ahead.
said one of our holdups is getting material. So you can't get material any sooner than he can.
Well, that's for the one that had the significant delay was that piping material that went out to the fairgrounds. This one's really more of a cost savings. There is a skid that's kind of instrumented for the processing of it. That one is going to be delayed at least 3 to 4 months, and we're going to put that one on order. It's going to delay the timing of it, absolutely, but the cost will come down significantly.
Okay.
So
Costs come down, I like.
we all like that one. So.
Yes.
You guys feel free to keep throwing out your questions as we go along. The other one that we'll talk about quickly here is the police station. There's the old police station that we want to kind of go in there and rehab it for their evidence storage. So we're kind of in the final designs of that one. We should be going to bid on that one pretty quick. The other one that we're going to try to push, or we've been pushing, is there's the 20th, over there on 20th Avenue. We're doing some traffic light designs. That's obviously going to a 4-lane. We want to try to get that as a city project, get those traffic lights designed and in place before that road comes available to everybody. Just logisticals and a lot of traffic through there, so we don't have to try to control that through stop signs.
I thought you had already.
Go
Sorry,
ahead,
Mayor.
go ahead, you're
I
fine.
thought you had already placed conduits in position for these lights.
Conduits, yes, there's a lot of the circuitry and the phasing, what they call on the lights and the left-hand turns and the phasing and the spacing. There's a lot to be designed around that, which is being completed right now. We're going to get those back come March. We're going to hopefully put that into the end of the contract to where we can put those in place.
$352,000 is a lot of design for conduit.
That'll actually cover the traffic lights as well.
For the traffic lights. But
Yes, we're hoping.
I think you can do way better than that. Okay?
I agree. That's what we had in there for the funds, and like you said, we're hoping that comes in significantly less. We'll see where it comes in. So. A couple of highlights, we kind of mentioned them before. Some of that expenditures, we're carrying the $5 million in there, which is going to be administered through ADOT, so it kind of skews our CIP a little bit, even though that's a project that we're carrying through. With that being said, we have seen some delays in some of our larger projects, which has allowed us to kind of complete some of the smaller projects. We'll show some highlights here in a second. We've done some work out there around the airport, as well as some of that around the 12th Street drainage. I think some of you guys went out and visited. So, and as I mentioned, some of the material availability is definitely impacting our cost and our timelines on this. I don't know if you guys can see those pictures, but some of the struggles that we've kind of seen, this is kind of some pictures updates on the 20th Avenue. The one on the left there is a stormwater tie-in. You can see that one of our issues is that was a communication line that was actually placed right in there. So we wind up having a lot of conflicts that are in the road. We're having to redesign some of the treatment of the base of the road because of the conflicts that are in there. A lot of these that are along that east side of the road that we're having to deal with. So we're managing through it. We're designing and going along a lot of the field fit stuff. So,
Gabe, those are change orders?
Not yet. There's
yet?
one. Well, let me take that back. There's a change order that's coming through. We got about $250,000 in there worth of contingency. We're probably about 60% of that. Right now, the most significant cost of that is the sub-base treatment. We've had to convert from a lime neutralization to a concrete base, which gains us about 4 inches. We had a gas line going right down the main road, which was in conflict of us. We didn't want to put the lime treatment in there and jeopardize hitting that gas line. So that cost is going to be in there. We've had to do some other retention walls and stuff that wasn't planned for in there. You can kind of see in the background of the picture of the right, that apartment complex in there. So we're about 60% spent. We're doing everything. We're trying to cost save on a few others that we're trying to eliminate out of there that's not vital to the project to try to cost save and offset some of that.
And who was our, what company did we go out to bid on to do the engineering with this? So of course you're going to say, I know where you're going with this, so is it their fault or is it going to be just an oversight by the cities?
So it's actually administered through ADOT. So they actually contracted out a company called Woods. And we've had that conversation with ADOT. There's definitely probably some liability, how much we can get out of them, and everything. It's in discussion right now.
Squeeze ADOT, which you ain't gonna get no money from them, but at least
Hopefully it goes back to Woods, because we are, both Lance and myself, is spending quite a bit of time in the design phase of this. So I don't know if Lance, if you wanted to throw in on that.
We're at 60% on the contingency, and realistically, you're gonna be going over that.
Probably. As long as, I think we've covered most of our major change orders in there, but we don't know what we don't know at this point, so.
When he mentioned 60%, that includes this big change order coming up that we're,
Right.
redesigning the base. And to go back to the question on the design, he's correct. ADOT, they picked the consultant. That was done 12, 13 years ago, and it was AMEC at the time. Woods bought out AMEC. It's changed hands 3 times since I've been here. So we're going to try and hit the designers, and ADOT has kind of told us that they've done that in the past. They actually got some money out of the same company for the roundabout out there by the prison. So we're hoping to get some cost back out of them for the poor design.
Okay, appreciate the update on that.
Engineers,
We're crazy, aren't we?
yeah, engineers.
The picture on the right is just an expansion of that Highline Canal. I'm sure if you guys have driven through it or whatever, you can see some of that. So quite a bit of concrete work. Those guys are doing well. Shello's managing through a lot of this. So a couple of things around the airport out there. We were able to put in that shade structure. It's actually in progress still. That's going to be the one that houses a lot of the mowers and equipment that's out there. The picture on the right is we've actually wind up extending that road out there. I know I've approached you guys about some of the tenants that are out there that was wanting to rent hangar space. So we've had at least 3 of them that are in queue. There's 3 more that have interest. So this road's actually been extended. We're working with Morgan and his team about getting the water line accessible out to them. So quite a bit of activity out there. So this is that drainage project that's over there on the 12th Street. If you guys know, there was a significant amount of water buildup down on the left-hand side. Was after a rain event. It's close to a foot deep in there. There was issues with people driving through. That was in December, so it was icing over. There was a lot of concern about getting their cars and stuff through there. What we did is we came back to what would be kind of the south side of that. We've actually wound up sloping that and putting in a retention pond. It doesn't completely eliminate that problem. There's still probably going to be an inch or 2 of water, but it definitely definitely helped a lot in that area. The residents were pretty appreciative and pretty excited about seeing us going in there and doing a lot of that work. So with that, I will let you guys ask any questions. So if you guys have any more?
Do you have any more questions?
So, other than all this, do you think we're gonna make our time frame?
No, I wish that we could. I think with the delays that we've been experiencing, I think we should all get our head around that it's going to be a tough year, just because of availability and equipment and supplies. It's significant, and we're not the only ones experiencing that.
Yeah, but I haven't been chewed out too much yet, so hopefully that'll stay that way. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and we'll continue to stay on top of it the best we can. We'll keep these updates coming, and hopefully we'll just keep managing through it. So.
Thank you, sir.
Gabe, I want to say thank you for all, Lance, everybody, the whole crew. I want to say thank you for all that you're doing. It's just great and getting good reply back from the citizens and all that, John. So kudos to you all, okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Council.
All right, anybody else? We're going to close the regular meeting, reconvene, or we're going to convene into a work session. A work session, it's going to be the CDBGs. Jamie, because we're getting into that budget projections, and I think there's going to be a lot of information going on that one, is yours going to be pretty quick, or do you want to move it to another week?
I can do it in 2 minutes.
2 minutes, I'll count you on that one.
Okay. So what I would like you to start thinking about then, so you can fold it into your budget ideas, is we've met with the Agency on Aging, which was suggested by Councilman Lopez, and that can't happen because they can only provide services with their entire service area. So City of Safford's money would be spread throughout Graham and Greenlee counties. So there is a spreadsheet that's included in your council packet. If you'd like to look at that in the meantime before the next meeting and kind of prioritize those budgets, I believe that Lance's favorite saying is going to be true. Sidewalks may be it this year, and I'm going to look at in the future years working with other CDBG pots of money and really putting in some more time and research on this project for the next 4-year cycle and updating our CDBG process. So less than 2 minutes.
All right, and it doesn't necessarily have to be sidewalks. We could do what
No.
we did 4 years ago where we donated, or 3 or whatever it was, where we donated money
Yes.
to like the sober living or whatever, and we still did sidewalks.
Yes.
Mr. Skeet was able to figure out a way to do that, so I want you guys to always be aware of that as well. So thank you for doing that. Anybody else?
Any word on tortilla flats?
Lance, do you have any update on that?
Mike, you can get away with saying that.
As Jamie mentioned, your spreadsheet kind of covers the projects that we have in the CIP as far as sidewalk areas that we plan for CDBG projects. It also has in there a yes or no if there's a special survey required for those areas. A couple of those areas, in the area you mentioned, some of that area does require a survey, some of it doesn't. So what I was kind of talking to the city manager and Jamie about was to hopefully, I don't have the number there, but I was kind of estimating about 200,000 for the sidewalks between Leif Nelson and the middle school, which I'd mentioned before was not a survey area. I was hoping to maybe do a combination project where we could do some sidewalks there, some over by the middle school and Leif Nelson. So make it one project, create one CDBG project, not have to do a survey and move forward that way. So
Okay.
that was the idea.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody,
No, when she said 2 minutes, I got the hint.
but we're gonna bring it back again, okay,
Yeah.
Arnold? So we'll give you 5 minutes now. We're gonna go to 16.2, special events. So Jamie, how long's that one gonna be?
A few more minutes, but not many.
Okay.
So first, I will show you this slideshow here. You do have to bear with me a little, though, because it's my first time to be using all this technology. I'm trying to get away from my giant amount of paper. Sam walked me through it. Okay. I can do it. Okay. Yay! Okay, so that was the longest part. Special events we've been working on since October of 2021. We had a work session then November, a new form with the help of the mayor, having his new event kind of helped us simplify the process for smaller events. January, we had a meeting with staff, event coordinators, sponsors. Vance is here also if you have any questions for him. January 10th, Tammy brought the ordinance 21-014, and that was passed, so the fees are regulated a little better and easier to follow. City of Safford events, which are things that the City of Safford is the host for. There were 4 events, total cost of $15,515.29. We received $6,300 in donations, and staff is currently at capacity because that is essentially Pam Frost. Non-city sponsored events there were 7 of them.
Jamie, hold up 1 second.
Sure.
What does staff is at capacity? What does that mean?
So Pam can't handle organizing any more events. We would have to add more staff
Okay.
if the city wanted to sponsor more events.
Okay, that doesn't mean our staff to go put the cones
No.
out and all, okay.
No, it's just my staff in my office. She's the special events liaison, and her job, she is essentially the host of these events, and so she personally is at capacity in her position. But the trash, from what I understand from the other department heads, they just go put it out and it's not a problem. So non-city sponsored events there were 7 last year. There was a total cost of $25,988.13, and staff is not at capacity for non-city sponsored events. So if more events come up that just need trash or electric or things like that, we are not at capacity for those. So we have 2 options for discussion. Is cost recovery for non-city sponsored events something the council wishes to pursue? And does the council want to implement a moratorium on new events? And with that, I will stand for questions.
So Brad.
No, go ahead,
No,
go ahead.
you.
Well, Mayor, just a quick initial comment. Was it 4 that we put on and 7? I understand that some cost recovery might be a good idea. And maybe we're kind of at our limit for total number, but if we're getting twice the events from outside sources for $26,000, we can't hire staff
Correct.
to get anywhere near that kind of bang for our buck on holding more events. So it's a little bit of a non-issue for me.
Well, and in my opinion, with the moratorium, I think that makes it a little unfair for new events because then you can't have new ideas. So if you would like to pursue cost recovery, it would be fine, but it seems like we're going along quite well.
And I don't want to, that's basically my point. For what we're getting for that amount of money.
Yes.
And what it would cost us to try to have similar events with extra staff, it's not an issue.
Okay.
In my.
And next council meeting on the 28th, Pam will bring her regular presentation for the yearly events. So if you do decide on cost recovery, we're prepared either way to go ahead and bring the resolution forward, whatever you gentlemen would decide this evening.
I'm
Go ahead.
not concerned about cost recovery like I was before, because the numbers, like Mr. Hemphill said, it's not really that gigantic. But there are some of them, the event holders, that wish they had some more security. So I don't know how you're going to solve that problem.
The chief is
The chief is spread out now too.
Yes.
When they talk, is there another way?
I believe the chief can answer, but I think they could hire off-duty officers, or they could help pay overtime.
Rangers like we used to. So.
Mayor, Councilman Lopez, we are thin currently. Normally for overtime, we get young officers and people that are willing to fill in if need be. But part of the security is they have to pay for that. And so they want the security. Are they willing to pay for it, or is the city willing to just foot the bill? And that's really a lot of it, is where that comes into. It's an expensive venture.
Yeah, because that's the only recovery or aid or ideas that we need is some added security, because you say we can only use officers.
Some of that, yes, some of it, no. We've actually had security from the Lions Club and other people work security in the past. It depends on whether there's alcohol involved or not at the
Yeah,
event.
you can see that.
Really makes a difference.
Well, then, that's all. I asked Mayor that when they talk to event people, that if they have a security question, they help us solve it. Or have an idea.
Go ahead, Nicole.
My only concern in these events is if we don't do cost recovery, I'm okay with that, but some events need a lot of city help and some don't need very much. And I'd like to see us find a fair way to, I don't know if there is a fair way to distribute that, but for somebody to get a third of it and then in other events use nothing basically other than some cones and I just like to see it be, I don't know how you do it, but I think there needs to be some sort of fairness to new events or existing events, not, maybe we decide on a dollar amount that we'll spend this much on each event and anything above that you're gonna have to figure out.
One other thing is that we waive the fees for events every year, and so you could consider not waiving the application fee and those and recover some costs that way for non-city sponsored events.
And I don't know if this could be, I don't want to say a study, because, but just even on your end, just something more informal. But is it possible that the ones that are requiring less help are probably, maybe giving us less traffic downtown? In other words, the ones that we are footing a little bit more of the bill, maybe they are bringing us more downtown traffic or revenue in that way. So maybe that's already not an issue.
Well, what I can do is keep track of it this year. Pam's really upped the way, we've really remodeled the way that we keep track of these and the way we split it out, as you can see your spreadsheets. So we can keep track of it in 2022 and bring it back next year.
In other words,
I'm okay with
maybe
that.
it's already fair.
Yeah, it may be. We've never had the data before. So if you'd like, we can keep track of it this year.
Sounds good to me.
And if you did a percentage of cost recovery, then it would be proportionate to the event.
Right. And so if next year.
I don't know what's right, I just,
Yeah, I mean,
I just want it to be right.
Well, if you do moratoriums, you start picking winners and losers. That becomes problematic. So the easiest way to go is if originally the discussions that were being had were, we have these additional events, they're costing us more money. So the idea was that even if we had a flat fee that was a percentage of cost recovery, then it would be for non-city events, and of course the percentage would be proportionate to the cost of the event. So you would have gained some money back. Now again, is it worth pursuing that? It sounds like so far it's not, and that's fine. So we continue what we're doing. The amount of cost recovery, even in the non-city events, are about $25,000. So again, if you were picking up a quarter of that, you're looking at what, 5,000 or whatever it is. So, yeah. So anyway, if you did a percentage of the overall cost, then you would proportionally hit whatever the event was.
All right, so we've settled on 11 events, period. We're not going to be bringing any more back. You got 7 and you got 4.
Well,
That's not what I.
next,
Right, that's the problem, right? Because you don't know what you're going to get.
Okay,
So we're not putting a moratorium. and
okay,
stuff.
we're not, okay.
And then we'll just see what happens.
So anybody comes through the door and says they want to pull an event, and we just, we vote on all the time?
well, what we did this year was keep the deadline. So Pam will be presenting a list of events.
Of the deadlines.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I want us to be firm. Once that is closed, staff's done their due diligence, then we should stick with that due diligence.
Then it's done for the calendar year.
Can we do
One
a-
issue we had is we approved one,
That's, yeah.
and we weren't necessarily inconsistent, because the other one didn't apply because they
Right,
missed the
right.
deadline.
And
If I remember correctly.
Right.
did you want to put aside a reserve so that you wouldn't basically cut yourself off from a good event? So maybe you put $5,000, $10,000 aside And council could, at their discretion, fund an event past the deadline if in fact, you get an event that comes to town that's a good event that you want to do, you would have the ability to have some flexibility in making that decision.
Does the
Although-
council like having that ability to vote on it, or could we leave that in the staff's hands? I mean, Jamie, I would hope that she wouldn't allow something crazy going down on there. I mean, I'm just asking you guys, you guys really want to vote on it, or do we want staff to be the one that does this? If staff's going to put a reserve on it, then let staff be the one. That way I can call Jamie and say, what the world were you doing hosting that event?
I am completely fine with that, if that's the way you'd like to go.
Gene, am I wrong?
No, I don't have a problem either way. My concern is, I think we've talked about it a little bit in the past. I think we just need to be consistent.
Yes.
And, it's hard for us to turn down one and accept another after we've made the rules. So I think we need to decide what it's gonna be, and we need to stick with it. And if at some point we feel like we need to change the rule, then we can do that. But I think whatever thing we set in place for that particular year, we need to stick to it.
So basically, what I'm hearing is no changes, right, with the current approach. And we'll take it every year, we'll bring the resolution, and you can decide on the list of events, no cost recovery, no moratorium. And then you also have the opportunity, like we did this year, where you had the event but didn't pay for it, right? So there's that aspect of it. So they covered the full cost. So you could still have an event, not put a contingency aside, but the event sponsor would cover the cost.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just fine with staff handling that. If we set aside 50,000 for special events, that way if little Susie comes up here and she's all in her decked out dress, I don't have to sit there and tell her that I can't sponsor her Cinderella pageant. I let you do that, but I don't care.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
It doesn't matter to me. It's not.
I kind of like that model myself. It saves you a lot of
It does.
legwork.
So I guess this year, we just want to collect the data this year, but I really think that we should be leaning towards this being staff's directive and not the council's directive, but I could be completely wrong.
So Mayor, are you saying you just want us to budget a number and then handle it without bringing it back to you at all?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I think the only thing we should set in place, how much we're wanting to fund every year, period.
Yeah, right, so
And
we'd have a
that could be
number in the
100,000
budget.
or 50,000, and then staff takes care of it from there.
I
That's
really
just
like
me.
that. I think Pam's completely got the process down. I can watch the budget. I think that's.
Because that way, the deadline is your deadline, it's not us. It's like all I get a chance to do is when somebody comes in, I say, go see Jamie or go see Pam.
Yes.
My hands are done.
And I can work with them until at some point in the year I say, I'm so sorry, we're out of money. You can still have it, but the cost will be on your end.
I
That
don't
would-
like that.
Huh?
I like that.
I like it.
I think it'd be so much easier, but,
You just have to get in the dunk tank, that's all.
yeah, they would have to then get into the dunk tank.
Yeah.
Yes, every event will have a dunk tank.
I personally think that if you could, I would like to see that come back to us for us to either vote on that this year or whatever, if we need to vote on it, and get that done, and come away with a hard number, whatever we choose that number to be, and let staff start running with that.
Well, Mr. Casella and Tammy, I believe that could just be a budget item, correct?
It could be. The only thing I don't know is if we have to do anything with the use of the streets.
The streets?
Yeah, is there any issues from an insurance standpoint? Can we handle that as staff?
Yeah, because we have the policy. And
Yeah,
then.
so we can put a budget item in there and then fund what we have the funds for.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, Pam will not present her event packet the 28th, correct? It'll just go in-house and we'll manage the budget. And I can always give you guys an email and say, hey, this is what we've got coming up this year.
I think you need to inform us what events you guys chose to sponsor so that we can, and you know what, I mean, I don't know how you're gonna choose that or what. I mean, if you want somebody from the council as a liaison on your board too, that would be great too, to where I could yell at Arnold for supporting something and let him do that. I think he's free and retired.
More responsibility.
And, I don't know if you would even like that, but I'm just suggesting something. It needs to be simplified, and I think this is the best way to simplify stuff.
Okay, how about on the 28th, I bring you a kinder, gentler process you may vote on? How does that sound?
I think you just got the green
I think so as well. So I
You
think
okay
I'll,
with that, you guys?
Yeah.
how about
All right.
I'll make you a
We're done,
presentation.
we're done talking about this special event.
Do you want a presentation on the 28th, or no, you're good? Email.
I don't think you need it.
Okay.
I think we're
We
done.
just get to put the budget number.
We just get to put the budget number in.
Yeah,
Got
you're gonna
it.
approve the budget anyway. And you're gonna see the events at some point, because they'll be part of the budget, so we can make them part of the budget.
Okay.
All right, now the fun one, the budget revenue projections, benefit premium discussions, compensations with long-term goals. Who's presenting this one?
Mayor, can we take a break so we can kind of set the stage for this one?
Set
For
the
5
stage?
minutes? Yeah, I've
You're gonna
asked
perform?
staff to give us some space tonight.